My name is Tabitha Ogango from Gifted Hands School. Today I continue with the discussion on the domains of learning in the educational process. Having looked at the early years and how the domains of learning would inform our choices for what a good early childhood program would be, I would like to move on to primary years. And again, I would want to note that although in many cases the early years seem to be considered to end at the age of 5, I propose that the early years actually go on till the end of the age of 7. And so in many cases, the primary school begins with some learners still in their early years of education. And so the principles that we discussed for the early years would apply for them. It is, however, notable that learners up to the age of 5 have need for the big muscles being developed because of their psychomotor development being at that point. But now as they get older into 6 and 7 years, then the fine motor skills have begun. So more emphasis can now be put on writing and neater writing. And so that whole process begins at that point. But what is significant about what I'm calling the middle years of school, the primary section years, is that the development of the learners in terms of their cognitive development or their affective development or their psychomotor development is not as rapid as has been in the early years or as it will be in the teenage years. So this is a season where things seem to move slower in terms of change and development. The cognitive development is a little more stable in terms of what they can do intellectually. The big thing in this season is really the affective domain. This is the season in which the children learn the values of their societies, of where they grow. And it is therefore very, very important that parents or guardians determine their educational choices based on the value system they would want the children to grow up with. This is the system when they learn, what is good, what is bad, what are our levels, standards of cleanliness, what is appreciated, what is not. And so much as, yes, there's a lot that happens in the primary section in terms of cognitive development because learners have moved from the basic, just learning and remembering, and now they begin to apply some of the things they are learning. And in the psychomotor, they have learned to imitate and to do as others do, but now is a season where now they begin to get a little more precise. I mean, if a child has been running and racing, now it is time that the skill can be refined. If a child has been playing a musical instrument, this is the season again when they can begin to grow that deeper, but in a slower state. The growth in this season is not quick. Sometimes it's not as visible as parents want it to be. And actually, this is where the challenge of the primary years lies. Because for many educators, we are faced by parents who want to see a lot of output. They want to see, what can my child do? When they were in kindergarten, they used to do this. And they don't realize that this is the season now when whatever it is the children have as a foundation now needs to be built upon carefully, systematically, repetitively. And this is where they are gaining actually their value system of how to work, of how to relate with people. And so another big thing about this season is the season of rules. The primary schooling season is a season where children understand rules. This is where they understand how to relate with authority. And so once again, the school and the home must come, to a consensus on what is good and what is bad. Because you find that if there's a conflicting value system at home and from the one that is at school, then it causes confusion for the children. So it is very important as people make their choices for the primary years, whereas it is so important to have the the maths and the English and the geography and all those done and done well, it is very important that parents also look at the hidden side of the schooling system, the hidden curriculum. What are the children picking as they go to school, and how they pick it. A lot of times we have no control. It is what they observe. It is how people relate in the school. That's where they form relationships with their peers. That is the season when a lot of discipline issues begin to emerge with children. And so very important for parents to team up with the school. And when teachers or caregivers who spend a lot of time with the children raise a matter, this is the season where parents need to really listen, because some of these things will soon go under when the children become old enough to know that what not to show you. But in this primary season, everybody can input. Everybody's position is actually important, because we have chosen to put these children within the environment of these caregivers and the school. For the primary school years, most curricula will arrange their content in pretty much the same way. At this point, everything the children are learning. Let me take the example of English. They already have the vocabulary set. They already will read stories and understand. And in this primary season, they now begin to learn the intricate structure of language. They begin to break down. They need to identify what are nouns, what are verbs, what are adjectives, how do we use them. They begin to, in the later years, also grow their expression base by using idioms and proverbs, and they just grow in that kind of way. And so exposure to wider content, irrespective of where it comes from, is very important, because the more they read, the more their worldview expands, the more the expression and the reasoning expands. When it comes to the area of their affective domain, children already now have, are settling down on what their personal value base will be. And so this is a time when you can easily watch, as they correct one another, or as they, get into their little groups where they have their little secrets. When they start to have their parties and begin to differentiate, I don't want so and so and I want so and so. And it's an interesting time to watch, because then you begin to see how they are organizing their lives around people of the same interests and stuff like that. And like I already said, when it comes to the psychomotor, this is the season for precision. Slow down, but now improve the skill to a high level. The general implications of this period of learning are that the children require more independence, because now they have grown and they realize they can read, they can find information for themselves. So you want a place where the children have room to express themselves without too much control. You also want to give them room to form their relationships wider than the home setting or your family friends. This is the season where we hear a lot of children saying they want to do a sleepover, they want all sorts of things. And again, as parents, we have to grapple with those kinds of discussions. But they are important because they are in that season of broadening their friendship base. And then they develop their interests, and hopefully by the time they are now transitioning to now the next segment of education, which is the secondary school, they have made some reasonable mistakes, and so they know that if they maybe don't read, they will not pass. The whole issue of cause and effect is clear. They will not be very careless with their tests or exams, because they know that there are consequences to everything they do. So all I am trying to say about this primary season of education and how to decide a good program or a good environment or a good school will have a lot to do with the levels in the domains of learning. We've moved from the lower level, and now we are, rising up the ranks, and don't put too much pressure on the children at this point, because they also need room to flex, the room to grow, room to dream. And so if the system is too tight, you find that they all come out a bit inhibited, which can be dangerous for them. When all is said and done, remember that the primary season should be a fun season. It should be a memorable season. I mean, it really is, must remain in the child's mind as the most exciting time of school. So that's what you're looking to create for your learners in terms of giving them a great base for the years that are coming ahead, which will now have a higher load in terms of academic discipline matters. Thank you very much for listening, and I look forward to speaking to you again as we investigate what are the important facets for a good secondary school program.